G'day and welcome to the first episode of AkashaTV. We're really excited to be here. It's something we've been thinking of doing for quite a while, so here we are for episode 1. The real reason for us being here for AkashaTV is to give us an opportunity to let you know about what's happening in the world of Akasha, what's happening in the brewery, what's happening out in the trade, and some of the exciting things we've got coming up, and some interviews with both staff and some of the customers and other personalities out in the field that we think are interesting, and hopefully you will too. So I guess what we're going to do is we're going to release these about every fortnight, and they'll be released to you guys at Friday at 5 p.m. Something for you to look forward to, no doubt. And you can find us we'll release those on Facebook every week or every fortnight. And we're launching a YouTube channel as well, and you can search for Akasha Brewing Company on YouTube. Go to the page, hit subscribe, and listen to my dulcet tones every fortnight. You're welcome. All right, so let's get on with it. If you don't have a beer in your hand, please get one. We've got one. I'd like to introduce you to George. Hello, George.
Hello, Dave.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Good to have you here. George is our first guest, and George, if you haven't met him before or seen him before, is our lead brewer here at Akasha. But I'm going to let you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you came from, how you came to be here.
Right. As Dave said, I'm George. I've been here at Akasha for just over 2 years now. Started in February of 2018. Started pretty fresh, pretty green in the industry, and through the tutorage of our previous brewers and Dave himself, now our lead brewer. Got my start in brewing similar to a lot of people, just around the industry. Worked at a pub, fell more in love with craft beer, Australian craft beer especially, and then spent some time over in the States and managed to fall into a brewery, and I've never left.
Never look back, as they say.
Absolutely.
And okay, what is your favourite Akasha beer? Tough question. One you get asked all the time, I'm sure.
Absolutely. It's tough. Which one of your kids do you love more? But
I can tell you which one of my kids I love more. This is not recorded, right?
I'd have to say it's probably our Hopsmith IPA. Even though we do tons of limited releases and really big hoppy out there beers, it's the one beer that I always seem to come back to, that when you drink it fresh, there really is no substitute for me. There is like no other beer I'd rather drink every day of the year. It would have to be that.
Particularly the last batch, right?
Absolutely. Every fresh batch is the best.
I think everyone agrees. We knew when we were counting that last batch that we could smell it coming down the stairs from the offices, which is where I tend to hang out these days, unfortunately. But the aroma coming off the canning line was amazing all through the brewery, and I think we've been blessed with, we've got some new hop contracts this year, which really have enabled us to bring in some really, really fresh hops. And it's really made a difference, I think, to all of our beers this year. But Hopsmith especially, that last batch was just a cracker. So I think all our beers are selling out pretty quickly at the moment with a lot of people at home drinking takeaway beers. Our beers aren't lasting. They're tasting great, but they aren't lasting very long. That last batch, I think, is almost sold out, so if you get a chance, get on it. So, you've done plenty of things here in your relatively short time. What are you most proud of? What's your biggest achievement so far?
I don't know if I could really point to one specific moment or beer or anything like that, but I was chatting with Dirk, one of our other brewers you may have seen on our Facebook page recently, a little bio on him. It still really hits us as brewers every time we see customers getting to enjoy our beer, because as brewers you're often quite detached from the final product, how it ends up in a customer's hand, or seeing someone at the pub or someone at home enjoying all the hard work that you put in, just the nature of the job. But whenever you do get the chance to see someone really enjoying what you have worked so hard for, it really makes it all worthwhile, and we get a lot of pride from that. Even this past weekend when our tasting room had a line out the door, we both saw it and were both pretty taken aback with the response to these beers that we've been making.
You're part of a hype brewery now, right? Once you got lines out the door.
Exactly. Every day of the week.
Every day of the week. But I 100% agree. I think it's we know that there's, we pride ourselves on consistency and we wouldn't release a beer out into the world unless we were happy with it. But every now and then, certainly like we're talking about the Hopsmith, batches are just completely blow us away, but nothing beats, seeing customers with that joy on their face when they're having one of our beers.
Even
It never gets old.
Enjoy a beer with customers as well. The sales guys are lucky enough to be able to do it quite often, but for us it's a bit more of a rarity.
It's pretty much all they do, isn't it? Just drinking with
I
people.
haven't seen them do anything except just hang out at pubs, pub lunches.
Yeah,
That's
fair
it.
enough too. Yeah. Yeah, should be more of it. And look, hopefully, it's with few and far between the opportunities in the current environment, but hopefully soon we'll be able to see more of that and hang out with our customers a little bit more. So, bit of a corny question. What's something about you that perhaps me or certainly our customers wouldn't know about you?
There's a few, but beer related.
Keep it tame. Yeah.
Beer related. When I was 21, I was working with a travel company over in Europe and spent about a month living in a tent in a campsite in Munich, Germany, taking punters into Oktoberfest for a month straight. That was...
I did not know that.
Craft beery, but there was a lot of beer.
That would have been pretty good.
It was.
Had a few beers in that time?
Yeah, just a few.
Excellent. Favourite style of beer?
Cop-out answer, but IPA, can't go past it. Or
I was waiting for the answer. It's kind of,
one that we don't make, but I will always choose to drink whenever I'm out or at bottle shops. Like wild ferment sours, definitely up there as my favourite.
Yeah, I think it's pretty common with all the brewers as well. We tend to love our sours as well, which is great. So, all right. So just one last thing. I did hear under the grapevine that you don't always drink craft. And there's a certain beer that you don't mind every now and then, that's a bit of more of a mainstream beer. Is that right?
Absolutely right.
And what beer is
Find
it?
me one brewer that doesn't love a nice, easy drinking lager. Tooheys New would be my go-to beer when it's hot or cheap.
When it's fresh.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. That's great. I bit of a cheeky question, but I agree with the lager thing. I think it's certainly, particularly in summer, I like a lager. Not necessarily a Tooheys New, but a fairly smooth, not too bitter. Doesn't necessarily have to be too tasty either, but I don't mind as well.
It pairs perfectly with watching my Newcastle Knights smash the Eels whenever they get a chance.
Yeah, well, it does show you don't have much taste at all, but that's okay.
Tough.
We'll know in a couple of weeks how those Newcastle Knights are going, eh?
Yeah, we could.
How many games did they win in the first 2 rounds?
2.
Did they?
Yeah.
There you go.
Top of the table.
Top of the table with us. There you go. All right, so we're going to move on to have a look. We're going to bring you a tasting each week as well. Usually a new release, not necessarily. It might be one of our core range beers or one of the new releases. One of the beers that I think we're all very proud of in the brewery. If you're allowed to be proud of a hop, I mean, it really, we do brew a lot of single hop IPAs. We think it's a real great opportunity for us as brewers, for our customers, for all sorts of people to really get an idea of what a hop on its own is like. And the one that we recently released was the Sabro IPA. I would get out there quickly if you want one. We released it into the wild on Friday, and on Tasting Room we sold out in a matter of hours, and there won't be much around fairly soon. So if you want to grab it, do grab it quickly. We're going to grab one right now and give it a bit of a taste and tell you what it's like. George, go for it.
Thanks.
I'd pour it for you, but you are too far away. You will notice. We'll talk a little bit about COVID-19 and the impact that it's had on breweries in general and us. Normally we'd be a little bit closer together, which is the way we'd rather it, I think. maybe not. Speak for yourself. But we're certainly following the guidelines here in the brewery, so hence why we're at the opposite ends of the table. So Sabro IPA, as I mentioned, it is a single hop IPA, something we do. When we do the single hops, it's a relatively neutral malt base, a little bit of very similar to a Hopsmith IPA. Pretty similar kind of hopping rates as well, but with a single hop really to show off. Heavily dry hop like most of our beers are. Plenty of West Coast style, so plenty of hops in the ball as well. But George, what do you reckon? What do you get out of this beer?
So much. It is pretty crazy having this. If you ever get the chance at home, I would try drinking it one after the other with our Mosaic IPA. It really is the exact same kind of malt profile. The only difference throughout is just the substitution of the hop, and they're completely different beers. The Sabro is a pretty interesting one in terms of like beer nerdery. The the science behind this hop only been around commercially for about 2 years now. 2018 they released it. Used to be called, well, at least amongst the homebrewers of the US, Ron Mexico, but I think Sabro is probably a better name.
I did not know that one. Yeah. It is a Mexicana hop, isn't it?
Yeah, so a lot of the hops that you probably know and love all have their roots and origins in Europe, even though they might have been grown for the last 100 years or so in the US. Most of them are rooted in Europe. This one's pretty unique in that it's native to the mountains of New Mexico in the US. It grows wild and it's a bit more of a durable hop, but what that really equates to in flavour is completely different to anything you're used to. Even though it's the same hop breeding company that brought us Mosaic and Citra, this one completely different. You get a ton of coconut, I find, throughout it. Tangerine's the other one. Hints of mint and mango throughout. For me, this one is almost like eating one of those mango and coconut Weiss bars. There's a bit of creamy texture to it as well, which is purely just from the hop, nothing else.
It is amazing, and after the Mosaic, which is heavily West Coast piney fruit salad, all that kind of stuff, the coconut just jumps out of the glass at me. Absolutely. As soon as I stuck my nose in it after we'd had the Mosaic, lots of coconut. I definitely get mint on the palate, plus all those sort of fruity salad flavours mixed in. It's amazing. I mean, it really is a unique hop. When you read it on paper, you think, oh, is that coconut really going to work? Is that mint? I mean, mint in an IPA? That kind of sounds a bit weird, but it's quite amazing. We used it, we did a collaboration with our friends up at Newstead, the
Vampire Lovers?
Vampire Lovers, thank you. I almost did Vampire Diaries. Not that I watched that show, but I have a number of young ladies in my house that do. We use this and Brew 1, which is another experimental hop in that what was a red IPA, and really love that one as well. But as I said, the single hop IPA is really a unique opportunity to sample a hop on its own, and then you can really get a feel for it. As brewers, we can get a much more of a feel for it in terms of what it might go well with other hops. It might be a West Coast IPA we're thinking about down the track, and might mix that in with something else, but really stands up on its own, as similar to the Mosaic. Mosaic's such a versatile hop, really does allow us to, it can sit on its own and hold its weight as a true IPA. As I said, this one really, I mean, people rushed in to grab this beer on the weekend. It was quite amazing for us. We did have, on the weekend was also our May Growler Madness, where we do have, part of the current environment is we do have we had about a lot of kegs sitting here. Unfortunately, a lot of our beloved customers, friends and colleagues who are unfortunately pubs and cafes and so forth that really haven't had a chance to trade over the last month or so. We're not, those guys are doing it real tough. We're doing okay, but we do have a lot of kegs sitting here. We thought about what we'd like to do with those kegs. Do we want to fill cans from the kegs, or God forbid, dump them as well? We thought, what better way, whilst they're still fresh, to allow our customers to come in and help us drain the kegs, and had our May Growler Madness weekend, which was pretty awesome, and growlers half price all weekend. It was pretty awesome, and having lines out the brewery and up the street was something we'd always dreamed about. But that was a great weekend, and might do it again soon. We'll see how we go. All right, so I might just come back to the brewery a little bit in terms of things that are coming up. One of the things we will try and let you know, and kind of a few exclusives along the way as well, let people know about what's happening here at the brewery. Look, it's been tough, as it has been for a lot of breweries here at the brewery, but what we've done is we've had a number of things in the wings that we've been looking at doing over the next year or two. We've really brought in quite quickly to help us get through this difficult situation. So nationwide delivery we rolled out last weekend. We've always had a lot of people asking us about, can we buy your beer online? No, you've got to come to the brewery or to our retailers. But Soon after the crisis hit, we rolled out online for our locals and our and Sydney Metro. We've now rolled that out nationwide. So if you are looking for our beer, by all means jump on the website and check out. You can check out where you can buy our beer, or you can now buy online as well as a nationwide delivery. And we've got a special this month for $10 flat rate delivery, which is pretty amazing. Free Sydney Metro delivery as well at the moment. So we do our own deliveries wholesale. So it's an opportunity for, we've got drivers out on the road and can deliver those for you for free Metro, which is great. We've also, we get a lot of queries for mixed cases. It's not something we've done in the past, and we've just released our first mixed case on yesterday actually. It's called the Brewer's Box, and we'll have a bunch of beers that new releases like the Sabro, classic releases like the Mosaic, and every time we release the Brewer's Box it'll have a different mix. It'll be very limited. This one sold out in I think about an hour, so it was that was pretty amazing. So keep an eye on the website for that. Every couple of weeks the Brewer's Box will be released on the website. We've got plenty of limited releases coming up. We love a limited release. We love brewing beers like the Mosaic and the Hopsmith and everything else, but gives us a little bit of extra excitement to brew.
Obviously it's cooling down a bit, so the beers will probably get a little bit heavier. So we're starting off with our Queen of the Damned Red IPA, which was initially a collaboration with the Royal Albert here in Sydney. We absolutely love that beer, packed full of hops, but a bit more complex malt base than our regular IPAs. So that one is being canned next week and will be available next weekend.
Can't wait for that one. I love that beer.
Yeah, it's tasting great already. Pretty excited for that one. Is that all
You've
I
been
have to say about?
You've been snaking it out of the tank, have you?
Someone's got to quality control it.
Yeah. Well, what we're also doing is during when our tasting room is obviously closed to the public at the moment, and until we're able to open again, like our own customers. What we were doing before the shutdowns was we're lucky enough to have a 300 litre pilot brewery here at Akasha, and we're often experimenting with things, which is released usually in the keg and placed on the tasting room for customers to buy here and taste and give us feedback and all that sort of stuff. We've made the decision that we're going to keep doing that, but release into very, very short runs of cans available here at the brewery. And the first one is again another beer that we've done once before on the tasting room.
So this is another one that was a collaboration with one of our good friends, the Spoon and Goats bar. It is a Blood Orange Goza, which we're super excited about. Obviously all the brewers love to brew and drink sours. It's not usually what Akasha's known for, so the sales guys don't often let us do it, but we're pretty excited for this one to be able to actually can some, and I assume it'll just be a cellar door release, but it's an entirely new process for us in terms of the actual brewing of it. For anyone that home brews or has brewed before, the techniques behind brewing kettle sour work pretty well on our little small pilot system, but now upscaling it to our bigger system. There's been a few things to work out along the way, but it's all in the tank, it's all fermenting, so we're very excited for that one.
Yeah, aren't we all? There's a lot of fruit going into that, so that's exciting. I'm very much looking forward to that. All right. One of the things we'll also talk about is industry news. I just wanted to touch quickly, and I said a little bit about it. It's a bit hard to sort of skirt around the current crisis, the COVID-19 crisis. As a brewery here, we've put a lot. We take safety very seriously. We have a very comprehensive safety program that we work on with our safety partners, a company called Victual. It's a really important part of what we do. We ask those guys to come in and do a safety or a COVID-19 audit across the business, and the most important was for our customers. So we decided from day one that we would stay open for takeaways, but that involved a lot of changes to the way that we operate. We've had to make sure that essentially everybody, our customers are safe, our employees are safe. So we're maintaining distance, both people lining up, people being served. We've placed hand sanitizer stations around the brewery for staff and for customers. Hand washing instructions. I mean, who would have thought that we'd have to put up, instructions on how to wash your hands? But it's such an important part of what we have to do, and so that's been really. We've had that set up, audited again, and we've come back with flying colours, so that works really well. So coming down the brewery, you can be assured that you can be as safe as possible. The brewery itself, we have 15 employees here, and it's important that, but first and foremost, that those guys are safe, and also business continuity. So a little bit boring, but it's important that if somebody was to come down with a virus here at the brewery, one, that it doesn't affect the beer, and two, that it doesn't shut our business down. So we've actually split our company into two essentially. And if our employee comes down, then we only lose half our staff, and we continue to produce beer, which is good news. So it's a struggle, and again, I just want to say we were thinking of all of our customers, our pubs, our cafes, who are unable to open now. It really is impacting them. So please support them in any way you can. We've got a lot of customers who are pivoting is the word at the moment, pivoting their business quite successfully to mainly takeaway businesses, and I really implore you to support them as much as you can, and not just in our industry, whether it's your butchers, whether it's your greengrocers, it's all the small businesses. Please support them now, so that they're all there when we all come back, hopefully sometime soon, and things are looking up. So fingers crossed, we'll be back to normal in no time. But as I said, please support all of your, our little individual independent businesses around the country in all sorts of different industries.
It's probably a good time as well to say a huge thank you to our loyal customer base who have kept us going,
100%.
Kept everyone here employed. We're a little guy as well, and wouldn't have been able to survive without the support of everyone loving our beers and drinking our beers. So thank you from all of us.
We're very unique in that we've been able to keep all of our staff, which is fantastic. But thank you, George, for bringing it up, and we really do thank everybody for supporting us through this time. Audience questions. We will be asking you, the audience, to send us through some questions each fortnight. Whether it's for us, whether it's for whoever, we'll try and do what we can to answer them. We already have. We put the call out yesterday on social media. We always have a couple of questions, which is good. And so the first question from Dan, thank you. I absolutely love the Hopsmith. We agree. What a great beer.
Cool.
When you say it's triple dry hop beer, does that mean you add dry hops at 3 different stages? Also, what malts are used in that beer? Very good questions. And I think the first part of that question is really interesting. We get asked this a lot. And we're seeing a lot of these, you see the TDH and the DDH beers out there, the triple dry hop, the double dry hop. What does all that mean? And it's something we've done since the beginning, is multiple dry hops in the beer. We do a relatively traditional dry hop, which means we get up in a cage at the top of these tanks, and the dry hop during the fermentation process poured in from the top, just like that. So poured in. What happens is those hops sort of filter down through the beer, and then they settle at the bottom. If we were to do that in one go, sometimes we don't get such a great extraction. If we can split that into 2 or 3 different dry hops, we just get a little bit of better extraction of the dry hop. But I think you also get a little bit more complexity from the dry hop as well by doing it in different stages. When you're towards the end of fermentation, well after fermentation, you do get, similar to the boil. When we boil the hops, we do get some different characteristics in the beer. So we do believe that by splitting up those dry hops, we get more of a complex character from those dry hops. Is that fair enough, George?
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Excellent. I was worried, just to make sure. So malts, look, we won't go into exactly what malts we use. Generally speaking, we use proud to use Barrett Burston malts for most of our what's called a base malt, the majority of our fairly neutral malt. But we also work very closely with our friends at Gladfield in New Zealand, who are using things like the crystal malts, which add a little bit more character to the beer. It's really important for us as IPA brewers that we create a balanced beer. We don't want, whilst we love hops and we love adding as many hops as we can, it's important that beer is balanced. And so we do want malt that works well and creates that balance, but doesn't overpower the hops as well. So so we're a little bit light on, beers these days, IPAs these days are relatively, I guess, pale compared to the way they were 5, 6, 7 years ago. Just to allow the hops to shine through, but I think it's important for balance. I don't know if you've got anything to add to that.
No, especially with the single hop beers that we do, that we look to be a bit more experimental. You want the complexity of a good solid malt base there, but you don't want it to overpower with these ones. Whereas if we go for our red IPA or some of our other IPAs that might be a bit different, we'll mix it up and get to play some really cool malts. But yeah, for the most part, it is pretty straightforward for us. Let the hops do the talking.
Yeah, absolutely. But still have that balance there. So excellent. Hopefully that answers your question, Dan. Now Talis, I was wanting to ask why Akasha haven't often brewed with New Zealand hops such as Nelson Sauvin and Motueka, to name just a couple. I need to add this in. P.S. I love your beers either way. I'm just noticing not many Aussie brewers are utilising these delicious hops. I've got an opinion on that. Do you have an opinion on that, George?
Mine's probably a bit more inherited from you and Gab, our previous head brewer. But I think more and more Australian brewers are starting to, especially with the hazy styles. They seem to play pretty well into that. But I'll let you explain why Akasha hasn't forayed into that yet.
We are massive fans of US hops. We use we'll use some new ones in like the Sabro and Mosaic is a big contributor to many of our beers, but we like our big traditional West Coast US hops. It really is the flavour profile that suits us. For a West Coast, I never found New Zealand hops to add something that I wanted, and so I steered away. But I think, I think you alluded to, George, as we're moving into this hazy, we're playing around with the hazy style. West Coast is kind of where we're at, but we're also spending a lot of time researching and developing hazy styles of beer, and I think we're seeing the New Zealand hops sort of sit a bit better in that environment. So we've been working with Ben Miller from Ben on his hazy IPAs, which are amazing, of course, and he uses a lot of New Zealand hops, and we've really, as I said, we've really noticed that they work well with the hazy IPAs. So never say never. We'll see how we go. We might see some more New Zealand hops creeping into what we do, but we'll see how we go, as I said. We want to make sure that, because you have put up with our dulcet tones for this amount of time, that we give you a few things each fortnight that are exclusive to the show. So this weekend, we're going to give everybody 5% off the online store if you want to jump on there. If you use the code AkashaTV5, all capitals and the number 5, that'll give you 5% off for the rest of the weekend. So knock yourselves out. We will have another episode in 2 weeks. We're going to actually go back and review kind of one of the favourite hops of a few people around here, including me, the Mosaic IPA. So we'll be drinking that and talking about that beer in a little bit more detail next time. So if you don't, go and grab some. Go and grab some Mosaic from your local bottle shop. Jump on the website, www.akashabrewing. I don't think you have to say that anymore, do you? akashabrewing.com.au, and you can check out where your local stock is. We've got a little search tool there. You can, right on the front page, where you can check out where to buy our beers. If you're a local, come down to the tasting room, or of course, as you've heard online, with 5% off this weekend. Let's just hope we're not sold out. So check that out. We'll be talking about the beer, drink one at the same time. That's what it's all about. We'll be launching a big competition also in 2 weeks' time. Lots of big prizes. We have no idea what they are yet, but they will be big. And we'll have that ready for you next time we go to air as well. Remember, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Akasha Brewing Company. Give a search for that. We will be releasing this on Facebook as well. And please give us your feedback. This is, whilst this is a recorded show, trust me, if I did it live, it'd be bloody terrible. So this is a recorded show, and we would like your feedback. What do you want to hear about? Is there stuff, I like this, don't like that? Let us know what you think, and of course get those questions through to us, and we'll answer as many of them as we can. We'll leave it at that. Thank you, George.
No worries.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. We hope you've enjoyed the show, and we'll catch you next time. Cheers.